continue recording because I always forget to do that too. We didn't have that many people signed up today. I think either everybody is zoomed out or everybody is out selling real estate because the market is so hot out there, isn't it? Which is super exciting, super fantastic. I expected to have a lot more people coming into today's session only because we have recently had some big changes come down the pipeline from RICO in terms of how realtors can refer to themselves over the course of their business. And that's what today's session is going to be about. So I've totally revamped this traditional RICO advertising course that just a little bit of back fluff. I wrote this course in, I want to say 2010, 2011 maybe, and I've been delivering it off and on ever since then. And now I'm really excited that we have finally changed the rules in Ontario, and we're going to talk a little bit about that this afternoon. In the interest of respecting your time, I will get started right away and not wait too much longer for any stragglers. We had about 24 people registered today. I wanted to turn off the sounds of people coming in, so that's good. Okay. While I'm going to be sharing my screen, you guys are going to be looking at a slide deck that I've prepared for today. I also do love it when people turn on their cameras, so I'm not just talking to a bunch of gray squares and names. So if you have the capacity and you've done your hair and makeup today, then please go ahead and turn your camera on, because it certainly does make it a lot more pleasant for me to be able to look at some of you. If you don't feel comfortable, that's fine too, but I do enjoy being able to see the people in the room with me today. Hi, June, thank you very much. It's always nice to see you. You're one of my regulars and I love it. Anybody else going to join me today? Nobody. None of you have done your hair and makeup. Bart, come on, you've done your hair. Come on. Hi, Kate, how are you doing? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so before I get started, I have a couple of polls just so that I can get to know some of you. There's maybe two names actually that I don't recognize. So let's just go ahead and go through the processes anyway. If you have a moment, please go ahead and select in the poll if you are a realtor with Royal LePage Real Estate Services or if you are joining us from Johnson and Daniel, our luxury division. We have a Johnson & Daniel sub office in our Oakville Lakeshore location. We also have a large Johnson & Daniel office on Mount Pleasant Avenue in downtown Toronto. So let me know if you are with J&D today. If I have no J&D realtors today, then I can skip over that section in our advertising. So that'll be good. Okay. So not all of you were able to answer. That's okay. I'll leave it for another second. Everybody here is Royal LePage. That's good. Okay, there were two people. Nathan, you don't need to answer. That's fine. I don't need your answer. Okay, perfect. That's great. I'm going to end that poll. I'm also going to move to my second question that I have with you guys is just to give me an idea how long you've been in the business. Less than 1 year, 1 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, or more than 10 years. Some of you are showing your ages at this point, right, Kate? Okay, that's good. So this just helps me get a little bit of an idea of how detailed I need to get into some of the basics of advertising and how many of you might already have a handle on what we can and can't do in terms of identifying ourselves as registrants over the course of our businesses. So thank you very much for answering that. I'll go ahead and end that one. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see the presentation I've prepared. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to move this out of the way and then I'm going to go right into our presentation. Okay, so hopefully you guys can all see the screen. While I have my full screen on, unfortunately, I'm unable to see the chat. So you know what? In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it actually on this screen so that I can actually keep an eye on the chat. Chat. Perfect. And then if you guys have any questions, feel free to go ahead and type that in the chat. Okay, so advertising guidelines. This is an updated online compliance guideline, not just online. We're going to talk a lot about print and print marketing, as well as how you guys are portraying yourselves online, just to make sure that you are in compliance with all the various things that we need to be in compliance with. And it's not only RICO that we have to be compliant with in our self-identification as a RICO registrant, but we also have to abide by CREA, the Canadian Real Estate Association's rules and guidelines for their trademarks. And there is also some very strong, if not mandated, requirements from Royal LePage and or Johnson & Daniel, if you were with Johnson & Daniel, over how to use the Royal LePage brands and the award designations and that sort of thing that the Royal LePage brand offers for you as well. So hopefully this course is going to be not our usual 2.5 hours long. In fact, I know for a fact it won't be. And Kate's like, yeah, I can't stay here for 2.5 hours. So yeah, that's fine. I'll make this as quick as possible. In fact, I expect that we'll be done before 2 o'clock, if not earlier. Kate, I see that you're in your car. If you do have to skip out, this is being recorded, so I'll be happy to share it with you if you need to leave. For anybody else that may be skipping out as well for work or other engagements, feel free to go ahead. I am recording this. It just means that you can't ask me a question live. And like I said, I really enjoy that. Okay, so let's get going. In terms of our agenda, we will talk about RICO requirements and how that changed 2 weeks ago. We will talk a little bit about the Royal LePage brand and the Johnson & Daniel brand. I'll touch on that briefly, since I don't think there's any J&D agents here right now. We'll talk about online and print, and then we'll get into some examples if any of you want to stick around, and maybe we can look at your profiles or your website, maybe see if we can scour the internet looking for somebody that's totally violating everything. That's always fun, but we'll see how much time we've got at the end. Okay, so excuse me, RICO requirements. October 1st, this went into effect, which is absolutely fantastic. RICO allowed for additional terms to be used to describe yourself as a registrant. So what RICO requires now, and what they used to require, which you guys may be familiar with, is that no matter where you were identifying yourself as a realtor, you had to, at some capacity, identify yourself as either a sales representative or a broker. And that was the only option you had. There were no other choices. You were either a sales rep or a broker, and that was it. So now, thankfully, that has changed. And just make this a little bit bigger so you guys can all see it. So now, thankfully, that has changed. And we now finally are legally allowed to call ourselves real estate agents. And I don't know how many of you guys didn't know this, but actually up until October 1st, the legal term for real estate agent was a describer of the broker of record, technically, or the brokerage really in itself. And everybody else, you guys as sales representatives or brokers, were only trading on behalf of the actual agent who was the broker of record or the brokerage. So now we are finally able to refer to ourselves as the consumer has always called us, and as we are referred to everywhere else in the world, as a real estate agent. So you can actually call yourselves that now on your signage, on your business cards. You do not have to put sales representative or broker at all. You can use real estate agent. You can also use realtor. And I'm so excited to be able to say that, because that's been, I think, probably 20 years of government lobbying by AREA, TREB, all of the various organizations have pleaded for this change in our ability to refer to ourselves for many, many years. And now finally it's legal. The caveat to this is that you must use one of these terms. So previous to now, if you were a sales representative, you had to call yourself sales representative. There were a couple of different terminologies that you could use. You could say real estate sales representative. You could say salesperson, but it had to be one of those derivatives. And then, of course, the French equivalents. So instead of just sales representative or broker, if that's what your designation is, so I'm a broker, for example, you can now not use sales representative if you don't want to, and you can call yourself a realtor. Now, if you are going to use realtor, you must comply with the Canadian Real Estate Association rules for calling yourself a realtor, because that registered trademark, as you can tell by the little R with a circle around it, means that it is an owned terminology by CREA, and you can only use it in compliance with their trademark, registered trademark rules that they have created around that trademark. And that's actually pretty simple. When you're calling yourself a realtor, R-E-A-L-T-O-R has to be in all caps. It can't be a capital R and then small letters for the rest of the words. It must be capital R, capital E, etc. for the entire word of realtor. The second requirement that you have to have is that it always has to have this little R and a circle beside it. I meant to, right before I did this session, tell you what keystrokes you need to do on Windows in order to get that. And I didn't look it up. I know on Apple, it's really easy. It's Option R. It's really easy to be able to pull that up on your keyboard if you're using Apple. And if you are on your phone and looking for that R symbol, it is part of your emoji pack that you'll see when you open up your smiley faces. If you scroll all the way down to the end, that's where you see all the symbols, and the R with the circle around it is located there. Just do a quick Google search for how to find the registered trademark symbol on Windows, and you'll find the keystrokes available for you on Google. Now, there is one caveat, and I don't want to muddy the waters here too much for those of you that are new to using the realtor trademark. Excuse me. The only way that you can use realtor with only a capital R and small letters for the rest of the word is if you have already acknowledged all caps first. So, for example, if you were writing a blog post or even a Facebook post or a social media post where you originally used the term realtor in all capital letters with the R circle symbol behind it, any future use of that word over the course of that article or that page can have just a capital R and then the rest be small letters, as long as, of course, you are still using that R with the circle around it, the symbol at the end of that word. So those are the two differences. Again, just to summarize that, it has to be all capital letters with the R in a circle. If it's the second instance of that in the same post or the same article or the same sort of, thing, you can use only a capital R in the word for any second or third or subsequent use of that word in the same post. Again, for those of you that just joined us, you can call yourself a realtor or a real estate agent, and you don't have to refer to yourself as a sales representative anymore. I'm so excited about this. I love it. I felt like sales representative was such a terrible term for the vast majority of us in our profession, and we are much more proud to be realtors than we are to be sales representatives. So I'm very happy. I think it caused a lot of people to go out and get their broker's designation purely so that they could call themselves a broker rather than a sales representative. I know it's one of the reasons why I became a broker. And it felt really good to put that broker sticker over my sales representative name on my for sale signs. So that's the big exciting news. And again, RICO will require you to make sure that you are using one of those four primary terms. There are minor derivatives that you can use. You can call yourself a broker realtor if you really want to make sure that you're highlighting your broker designation if you prefer. You can still call yourself a real estate broker. You can call yourself a broker agent, whatever it is that you want to do. You can have derivatives of that. I would suggest that if you, excuse me, there's cat visiting. I would suggest that, come on. I would suggest that if you are using a derivative apart from one of these four terminologies that's here, just run it by your managing broker to make sure that you are properly using that terminology, and you should be good to go there. So definitely celebrating that news. I'm so glad to share that with you guys that are here with me today. On top of those things as your title, you still need to identify the brokerage in its whole entirety. So a lot of people tend to miss out on a couple of aspects of this. And I need to remind you that it's very, very important to refer to your brokerage name as Royal LePage Real Estate Services, LTD, period, comma, brokerage. That whole thing is required every single time. You can't refer to yourself as being a realtor with Royal LePage because you're not. You're a realtor with Royal LePage Real Estate Services, LTD, period, comma, brokerage. If you are with Johnson & Daniel, you are with Johnson & Daniel, a division of Royal LePage Real Estate Services, LTD, period, comma, brokerage. If you're a realtor with one of our agent co's or our sub brokerages, then it will be whatever name that your agent co has given. For example, I'm probably going to butcher this. I hope none of you here are from the Regan team, but I think it's the Regan team, Royal LePage Real Estate Services, LTD, period, comma, brokerage. I'm not sure, so I may have butchered that, but you'll have to double check with your lead admin to make sure if you're on an agent co what your full brokerage name is. And RICO does require you to use the full brokerage name everywhere by law. What they want to do by this is making sure that it's transparent to a consumer what brokerage you work for. the brand matters less than the actual name of the brokerage, because of course we are entirely a different brokerage from Royal LePage Realty Plus, an entirely different brokerage from Royal LePage Signature. And while we all are, you know, under the same Royal LePage brand and family, we do need to be specific that we are with this individual brokerage and not just with any Royal LePage franchise or brokerage. Lastly, what RICO will require you to do is, if you are making any claims or statements to any awards, certifications, designations that you have achieved, that you are using those designations and those awards properly. For example, any GCI or performance awards that you may have received, for example, with Royal LePage, maybe you've received President's Gold a couple of times. You are required every single time you identify that you are a President's Gold recipient to identify the year that you received that award or the years that you've received that award. So we see some of our top producers who say they've achieved Director's Platinum from 2011 to 2017 consecutively, or 2011, 2012, 2013, 2015, 2016, if that's what they did. You need to be clear about those awards and what year you achieved them. Any designations that you've achieved, like, CNE, the Certified Negotiation Expert, they are all provided by third-party individuals that have their own requirements on how you use those terminologies. Many of them require an annual renewal into a subscription fee that allows you to continue to use those awards. And if you stop paying that membership fee, then you're no longer allowed to use that designation. So just make sure that you're following those guidelines. It's really important to make sure that you abide by the rules of any terminology or title that you were using to describe yourself as a registrant. Lastly, RICO's biggest concern always is making sure that you're not making any false or misleading statements. This is always a touchy topic because we all know realtors, we all receive it in our mailboxes on any given day, at any given time, postcards that say #1 in Burlington, and then that's it, and then they don't tell you anything else. Like, #1 in what? That's what RICO doesn't want to see. They want to know what you're #1 at and where you can prove that you were #1 in accordance with your statement. So two different things for this. First of all, you'll see a lot of people that have #1 in gross production in the Orchard neighborhood in Burlington for 2017. And then there's a little asterisk beside it. And if you look at the bottom of the postcard, there's another star that sort of matches that one. And in fine print, it'll say, according to RE stats for the Hamilton Real Estate Association of Hamilton Burlington for 2021 or 2020 or whatever it is. So you have to make sure that you are defining all of the details of where you achieved or where you got that result that you're #1. Top 3% in Oakville. Okay. Is that according to TREB or is that according to OMDREB? For what time period? For what geographical area? You have to be clear. Now, I know that a lot of you are probably thinking, but I see people that violate this rule all the time. Yeah, unfortunately, we do a pretty good job of earning our reputation as being, sleazy and undercutting and bending and skirting of rules. And a lot of us are really eager to do that on a regular basis. There is a way to fix that. RICO has asked that any advertising infractions be handled broker to broker first. And if that results in a non-resolution of compliance to the RICO or REBA 2002 guidelines, that RICO will then step in if the brokers are unable to sort it out. So if you are seeing somebody violating these guidelines, unfortunately, in some capacity, it is up to us as registrants to police each other. As sad as that is, it is how it is. There's way more of us in the province than there are compliance officers at RICO to be able to assist us with this. So it is kind of up to us to try and sort it out on our own. If you see something like this and it's really bothering you, it's okay. Let it bother you. It's fine. The only way we're going to fix it is if we draw more attention to it. So take it to your managing broker. Your managing broker, has an obligation to talk it through with you. And if it turns out that it is a really big deal that's having an effect on your ability to do reasonable business in a fair manner, then your managing broker may take it to the broker of the person that is making the mistake. They'll try and sort it out. And if the infraction continues, then RICO will step in and levy fines and force compliance. So it does end up that way. I've seen it happen dozens of times. People do care about this. It's just a matter of, making sure that we're going the extra mile to do our effort to make sure that we're all being compliant. So don't be afraid to take a minute to email your managing broker and go, this has cost me a listing, or this is giving me really, difficult questions from the consumer in the area that I farm. We need to make sure that this is compliant. Don't be afraid to do that, because the only way we're going to make it better is if we work together to make it better. Okay, so next, let's take a brief look at the Royal LePage brand. You guys have chosen to work with, obviously, the top Canadian brand in real estate, and many of you have built successful careers here and have stayed here for the duration of your successful career. And you should continue to be proud of that. There is absolutely value in the Royal LePage brand, just as much as there is value in other household names. People do recognize that, and oftentimes, especially if you're newer, they recognize that brand a lot more quickly than they will recognize you. So whether you are 3 months in the business or 30 years in the business and have created your own brand and your own sphere of influence that recognizes you by name, you can continue to rely on Royal LePage the same way that President's Choice continues to rely on Fortino's to deliver that level of quality of service and that brand that you have, that sub-brand that you've created under the larger brand. Now, the Royal LePage brand does have its own guidelines and rules that we ask you to comply with. A lot of Royal LePage people, realtors, tend to create their own marketing and their own branding and then just use a smaller version of the Royal LePage logo, which is absolutely fantastic. And that's wonderful, that's great, but you also need to make sure that when you're using that logo that you do it in such a way that's compliant with the Royal LePage brand guidelines. I just had a question via private chat for anybody that came in late or needs to leave early. Is the presentation being sent out? Yes, we are recording this presentation. It will be available for everybody to watch, so no worries whatsoever. So the place that you can find the Royal LePage guidelines, and I will open up the RLP network here to show you. Log on to the RLP network. By the way, if you haven't logged into this yet, log into it. It's been a little bit of time. Maybe you need to update your profile photo. Maybe you need to update your contact information on the RLP network. And there's some really, really great resources here for all of our Royal LePage realtors across the country to refer to on a regular basis. The referral directory has converted entirely online. It's available here. This is where you access RLP Sphere is from here. You can also see where you're doing in terms of your awards annually. Unfortunately, I'm not having a very good year, but you can also track where you are in terms of your annual awards here in this bracket as well. So lots of great resources here. When you log into RLP Sphere, over here on the marketing tab, if you click there, you're actually able to get a whole bunch of stuff that's available here. This isn't brokerage specific, it is Royal LePage brand specific. So again, this is where you can access RLP Sphere for your new CRM and lead generating website that we offer for you at no extra charge. Your awards and recognition program. So if you're wondering where the levels have changed to as a result of COVID, we did slightly adjust the awards levels this year because of COVID. So if you needed to take a look at what your award level here is, you could see that PDF in this menu here. Brand guidelines, logos, and lawn signs is where we want to go to get information about the Royal LePage brand. Again, there's a whole bunch of other stuff here that you may want to click through, but for now, we're going to come into our brand guidelines, logos, and lawn signs. The brand guidelines book is here, and you can download a variety of versions of the Royal LePage logo here, including our black and white version, our red, black and white version. You can have a logo that's on white, that's on black, the PNG vector image, whatever it is that you need. The library to download those high-res files here for your graphic designer is located here. And we also have a number of pre-created Royal LePage lawn signs for you to choose from. And they are slightly customizable in that you can add your photo to them if you want. You can, you know, change them around, you know, move stuff around. But these are great templates for you to start with if you're designing your own from scratch, or if you haven't gone to somewhere like Signs in the Making that also use some of these templates for you to be able to refer to. There's obviously additional resources down here. Carriage trade, if you happen to get a carriage trade qualified listing, anything else that's available here, social media icons, etc. So I'm going to quickly jump into brand guidelines here, just to show you the submenu in here that actually gives you a very quick tips PDF to refer to. But what I really want to look at in detail is the Royal LePage brand guidelines. And this PDF gives you a full explanation of how to properly use the Royal LePage branding in any of your marketing. Is this mandated? Or are we going to fine you or get you in trouble if you don't refer to all of the stuff here? Then I want to say no, unless you're blatantly continue to not use it properly. So there is a table of contents here. It is clickable. So if I wanted to jump right to the primary palette, I could click on 17. It would take me right to page 17 in the document. So just to back up a little bit, again, lots of really great information here, really good to give to your graphic designer. If you've gone to Fiverr or Upwork or any of those, they may want to have a look at this as well. It is a public document. You are able to share it. It will tell you how to use the logo, how not to use the logo, and what different color combinations you are allowed to use. And these are the various color combinations that you can use. It will also give you an option of how not to use the Royal LePage logo, which is in this page. You can't put a shadow behind it. You can't change the colors. You can't, you know, change the resolution, or, you know, shrink them like this, or, you know, squish them together or stretch them out. They have to be a certain way. A couple of private questions that I've gotten here that I'll just answer as we come through. We did mention a slight modification to the award levels this year. I don't know exactly what that is. I'll leave that for you again to log into the RLP network and take a look depending on your area. But some areas, not all, some areas were adjusted for different qualification levels to achieve certain awards. So the sales achievement, master sales, and President's Gold may be adjusted depending on where you are working and where your branch is located, in terms of what award you may receive this year. Okay. So do's and don'ts, and then scrolling down here, which is the most important thing. Oh, by the way, we'll also talk to you about fonts that you can use. They want you to, when you're referring to Royal LePage, they want you to use the Helvetica font, or a secondary font that you can use is Arial. And there's also free places you can go here. They've linked to the free places where you can download and install these fonts if they're not already on your computer, so you can access them there. And most importantly, you can actually copy the precise color of red that Royal LePage uses in their brand. So if you really wanted to create a nice popping red letterhead and you really wanted it to match that Royal LePage logo, this is the red that you use. These numbers will allow you to go anywhere from an ink color in your pen to a paint color if you were going to be painting your office the Royal LePage red or whatever you wanted, as well as, of course, print recreation in terms of the Royal LePage coloring. So going back to our slide deck, this is what I've included here, of course, and you'll get a copy of the slide deck as well, or you'll be able to refer back to this section in the recording if you want to watch it again later. But again, this information is available for you whenever you want in the RLP network. So there are, of course, different brands within the Royal LePage family, and we'll look at Johnson & Daniel briefly before we move on after this slide. But make sure, again, that you are, anywhere you are using the Royal LePage logo, that you are also differentiating ourselves. As you can see that I've done down here really smally. Really smally? Was that proper terminology? I don't know if that was proper terminology. Really tinily. Let me just blow this up and scroll down. Everywhere you use the Royal LePage logo, you must identify the brokerage under Royal LePage that you work for. So it's not enough just to say Royal LePage and have the logo. You need to include, as well as the logo, Royal LePage Real Estate Services Ltd, period, comma, brokerage. Again, over here, as you can see, with the Johnson & Daniel logo that I've included here, in the small print underneath, it says a division of Royal LePage Real Estate Services Ltd, period, comma, brokerage. This is the correct way, guys, to use both of these brands. So make sure that you're aware that it's not just enough to throw out the logo. Royal LePage won't be happy with it, and Rico is not going to be happy with it, because you do have to be clear about which brokerage it is that you work for. Let me go back. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the colors and the fonts and the use of the RLP logos. You guys know where to go for more information about that. Awards and designations, again, just a reminder, if you're using anything that is delivered to you by a third party or by Royal LePage, make sure that you are being very clear about the year that it was awarded, or you're using it if it's still active and you're allowed to use it, and you're using the brand or the logo or the initials precisely how they have given you permission to use them. Violating trademark rules can be a very serious issue. If you do it once, it's a mistake, that's fine. Make sure that you learn about the mistake, because if you do it a second time, sometimes people crack down really hard on repeat offenders for misusing trademark and registered titles. So just make sure that you're aware of how you are allowed to use these things that you're using. Brief look, same thing with Johnson & Daniel. These are the colors that you're able to use for the gray, the green, and the black for Johnson & Daniel. Same rules apply. For those of you, if anybody here is with Johnson & Daniel, you may want to go to Kristen for more information on how to use the Johnson & Daniel brand. I don't think you can get the Johnson & Daniel information by logging into RLP Network. Again, refer back to Kristen or Christine or Christian, and they'll be able to help you sort out what you need to know about the J&D brand. Online and print, very much similar to what you're looking at online or on your business cards or on your for sale signs. RICO requires you to identify yourself everywhere that you possibly can as either a salesperson, a broker, a realtor in the proper way of CREA, a real estate agent, and, be very clear about the full name of the brokerage that you work for. The one thing that I neglected to mention about this is your name. And your name is actually a really interesting part of the RICO compliance guidelines. A lot of people have, like, for example, a long time ago in a whole different life, in a whole different world, I used to go by Sandy, S-A-N-D-I. And everybody I knew, my parents, my friends, my boyfriends, everybody in my life only ever referred to me as Sandy. The only time people called me Sandra is my mom when she was mad at me. And so nobody else did. Now, if at that time when I was going by Sandy that I got registered by the Real Estate Council of Ontario and began working as a realtor, if I wanted to advertise myself as Sandy and wanted my clients to refer to me as Sandy, and I wanted to be able to put that on my business cards and my for sale signs, I would actually have to go out of my way to apply to use an alias with the Real Estate Council of Ontario to be allowed to use Sandy, because it's not actually my legal name. My legal name is Sandra. So if that applies to you in any way, shape, or form, it especially most commonly applies to new Canadians or people that have anglicized their name when immigrating from another country where English may not be the first language. They tend to, a lot of people, when they anglicize their names, have a foreign name that they've then turned into something that is a little bit more anglicized. So they will need to go to RICO and make sure that they are registering that alias so that they can use it in their marketing and in their self-identification as a registrant. So make sure that you are using your name as registered with RICO and no other alias unless you have actually gotten permission from RICO to use that specific alias. Title, full name of your brokerage, and full disclosure on the awards, certifications, and any claims that you're making of being #1 or the best at everything. Now, I want to highlight how there are some tricky nuances that you have to navigate when it comes to things like social media. For example, and I'll actually go back here first. Facebook, of course, has the option for you to create 2 profiles. You can have your personal profile, which is your regular feed where you add friends and you see your friends in your feed and you can comment to them and you change your profile photo, and it's very personal oriented. Facebook also allows you to create a business account where you are operating as a business. That's where you create your Facebook ads. You're allowed to advertise on that platform. You don't have friends on that profile. You get followers or fans, and it's more of sort of you're putting out and not really having that sort of back and forth interaction with your sphere of influence. Facebook has made it very clear that you should not be self-promoting or selling or advertising a business in any capacity using your personal profile. And they go through waves where a year they'll crack down really, really hard on this. And then for 3 years, they won't care because they're going through so many other changes in their platform that they just let it go. And then they crack down really hard on it again, and then they let it go. And Well, we all see a lot of realtors that are totally misusing their personal profile for commercial purposes and self-promotional purposes. I strongly recommend that none of you do this just because you're seeing other people do it. And the reason why is because Facebook's rules about not using your personal profile for self-promotion can come and bite you at any time. And I don't know if any of you have ever tried to get support or to talk to somebody with any kind of authority at Facebook, but it's like they don't have humans that work in the organization. You'll never get to talk to anybody. You can throw something out into the support channels, but when you receive something back, it's faceless, it's nameless, and it sounds like a form letter, and you'll never get anywhere. So what happens is that if you're using your personal profile to advertise your real estate business or advertise your services as a realtor, if Facebook gets tired of seeing how much you're using it for self-promotion, what they'll do is one of two things. They won't warn you at all, by the way. There's no warning for this whatsoever. They'll shut down your profile altogether and you've lost everything and you've got to start from scratch. Or they may convert your profile into a business profile. And if they convert your personal profile into a business profile, you've lost all your photos, you've lost all of your contacts, you've lost your network, you've lost your history, you've lost everything, you've lost your chat history, you've lost everything that's attached to that personal profile. And I promise you, there's no way of getting it back. Nobody at Facebook cares. So it's important to make sure that you are, the rule of thumb is sort of, use Facebook personal profile for less than 30% for marketing and self-promotion. Keep that stuff to your Facebook business page. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't use your personal profile to identify yourself as a realtor. In fact, I encourage you to. Everybody else talks about their job on their personal social media pages. You should be able to as well. And you can. What you shouldn't be doing is writing posts that say, come to my open house this weekend at 123 Main Street. And if you know anybody looking to buy or sell, call me, or, my services do this, or, list it for 30 days. And if it doesn't sell, I'll buy it. Whatever it is that you're doing to solicit business is what Facebook considers to be self-promotion. And if you do too much of that on your profile, it will shut you down. I am in the process of creating a social media content course that I hope to deliver in the next 2 or 3 months. Might be January at the latest, but I encourage you to keep an eye open for that course, where we will talk about strategic ways that you can use your Facebook personal profile to remind your sphere that you are an excellent and trustworthy realtor without violating the self-promotion rules, because you're not self-promoting, you're just talking about the things that interest you the most and reminding people that you're in the business. So we'll leave that for another time because this is about compliance, but just that caveat, make sure that you're not selling on your personal profile, keep that over to your business profile. Make sure, again, on all of your social media profiles, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever it is that you are, make sure that you are identifying yourself as a registrant by either saying you're a sales representative, a broker, a realtor, or a real estate agent, your whole brokerage name, your name is registered with RICO, and if you're using, again, any awards or any claims to fame, that you are qualifying those claims to fames. So again, just to take a look at what Facebook requires from you, because I see people with Facebook pages shut down all the time, left, right, and center. It's really important that you don't violate these rules, even though you're seeing other people do it. We all see people do it. At some point, they're going to get in trouble for it. Don't let that be you. So don't use your personal profile to solicit or advertise any business, because it could cause you to lose everything. And technically too, with the Facebook personal profile, you can't be entirely RICO compliant. It just doesn't really allow you to fit in all of those pieces. And to tie this up, do we have any questions and comments? Is there anybody that's participating with us today that wants me to check out their profiles or their websites to see if they're compliant, or if we have any suggestions on how we can make that better? For those of you that have other places that you need to be, this does conclude, for the most part, the session. Right now, it's just going to be sort of a back and forth. If anybody has any questions or wants me to go through anything with them, I'm happy to stick around and do that. But if you're happy with the information that I've provided with you so far, you can feel free to skip out for the afternoon, and I'll look forward to seeing you at our next session. What I will do while I'm waiting for any questions to come in is I will skip over to my Facebook. Hopefully I don't have any incriminating chat messages or photos or posts that is immediately coming up here. So this is my personal, sorry, that's my feed. So let's go over here. You're welcome, Bart. This is my personal profile. I am able to make sure that I'm clear that I'm a broker and that I work for Royal LePage Real Estate Services, LTD, period, comma, brokerage. It's really easy for me to be clear about the full name of the brokerage that I work for, because I'm able to link back to our actual corporate brokerage Facebook page, which makes sure that, of course, it uses the correct terminology in its title. And I encourage you guys to do this because anybody that's Googling you is going to come across your personal Facebook profile, even if you don't use it for business at all and everything is locked down friends only. You know, don't forget that Facebook and all social media platforms are actually search engines. They want to capture your views. They want to send people to your profile. So if anybody's searching you, even if you're not using Facebook at all and everything is locked down to friends only, the public is still going to land on your profile when they Google you if they're considering hiring you. So if they come to your profile, they see that you're a broker with real estate services, perfect. They're going to click on that and they're going to go over to our corporate Facebook page and see a lot of information there that we have shared about our brokerage. I can scroll down and see some of the posts. Mostly Ligia at head office takes care of most of these things. And it's really just, we reshare your listings. So if you've got listings coming up and you've used our CMS services, then we reshare your listings. All of our market stats come out here. So if you're looking for them and you can't find the email from Deborah, you can pop in here at any time and find the posts here. And it's a great website for you to be able to link back to from your personal profile. You know, all of your work history. This is kind of like a mini resume of, you know, of a snapshot of your life. And I tend to be quite open and an open book on social media. So a lot of my posts are public. I want people to get to know my personality. I want to share my family because I feel that it really makes it easy to create a personal connection with the people that I want to have a business relationship with. And we've talked about this at length in my family, and everybody else is also okay with me posting photos of everybody in an online environment. So here was my Thanksgiving table. Of course, everybody's Thanksgiving this year was small. And so this is my engagement. A lot of it is personal, but I do talk a little bit about business throughout here as well. So anyway, that's my personal profile. And then over on my business profile, trying to find out where everything is on this new layout. Over on my business profile, which is over here, this is my business profile. So again, different from the personal profile. This allows you to be a little bit more RICO compliant because you have a lot more opportunity here to really identify who you are as a registrant and your history in the business as well. So if you want to identify that you were with a previous brokerage before us, I don't know why you'd want to share that, but if you did, you could use that credibility here in your history of your business. This is where you would want to share any of the successes that you've had, any of the awards that you've achieved. This is where you want to post market stats to be able to share them across the network. This is where you want to post about having your open houses once we're allowed to have open houses again, where you want to go live for your live virtual house. If you're doing the virtual open houses instead of the public open houses, this is where you want to host them. Anything where you're talking specifically about business stats, soliciting for business, this is where it comes here on your Facebook business profile. And a question over here in the chat, quick question regarding the fonts. Does that apply to writing on the whole item? It doesn't, June, but that's a really good question. So using the fonts is really just for identifying Royal LePage. And as we all know, some fonts work better with others. So if you have to use the Helvetica font to identify Royal LePage Real Estate Services, you may not want to use Comic Sans as the font in the rest of your blog post. But no, you're not limited to only using those two fonts anywhere else in your business. So that's kind of primarily the difference between these two profiles. Keep your business stuff to your business. Keep your personal stuff to your personal. Make sure when you're identifying yourself as a real estate agent on your Facebook business profile that you do it what we call above the fold. And that means when somebody is coming to visit your business page, you can click view as the public here and it will actually give you, this is the view that you guys will see when you come to my business page. So when I come here, you can use this area here in the cover photo to identify the Royal LePage brand and the brokerage name, because there isn't really an easy way to do it in the title of your business business page, and then identify yourself as a broker and or a real estate agent in the title of your Facebook business page. That enables you to be RICO compliant. Use this cover photo to your advantage. Head over to Canva. You can create whatever it is that you want on this cover photo on canva.com. Really easy to do. If you want to advertise your chairman's club entries or, you know, director's platinum or whatever it is that you are, you can absolutely do so here, and it will stay above the fold for everybody to see really quickly when they Google you and are interested in learning more about your services as a realtor. So with that being said, does anybody have any questions? Feel free to unmute yourselves too. I think you may have the option to unmute yourselves. Maybe you don't. Let's see. If you want to unmute yourself, then type in the chat and I'll see if I can manually unmute you. I don't know if you actually can or not, but you're more than welcome to turn on your mic and talk if you'd like. Or type in a question if you want me to take a look at your Facebook or your any online profiles or websites that you may have, so we can talk about the compliance options in your own websites. But apart from that, that's it. I'm, again, super excited to share with you guys that you can refer to yourselves as a real estate agent and not a sales representative anymore. How many people are happy with that? Because I'm thrilled. Yeah, absolutely. I'm thrilled. Okay, Kate, let's take a look at you. So I'm going to do a search here. See what I can find. So if I search for you, your team comes up nice and quick. That's nice. Look at this sneak in here with his sponsored ad right underneath you. He paid for that spot right underneath you. Look at that sneak. So if we click on you, let's take a look at what your, so this is Kate's business profile. So this isn't her personal profile. It is her business profile. Scrolling back up to the top, beautiful. I love this. I mean, your logo is just so stunning and so classy. I absolutely love it. There are a couple of things here that I would suggest maybe aren't as RICO compliant as they could be. So what RICO wants to see is above the fold, meaning not scrolling. They want to be able to see information about, you know, who you are, who's on your team, what brokerage you're with. So I was going to say you maybe want to add in Royal LePage Real Estate Services here in a corner somewhere, but I would venture to guess that you're okay because you have listed Royal LePage Real Estate Services LTD, period, comma, brokerage, exactly how you needed to do it. So well done. That's perfect. The only difference that I would do is you can edit this so that this links to the brokerage Facebook page if you wanted it to. You don't have to, but sometimes it's a lot easier for people to feel like they can learn more about you if they can click around and learn about your brokerage as well. So you may want to go ahead and do that. But apart from that, yeah, I mean, you know, you use this, it links back to your primary website, which is great. Your office phone number is here, your email address is here. It's very easy to reach you and you're active. You're using it on a regular basis. So kudos to your admin who's posting personal information about an insight to what it means to be a part of the Kate Vanderberg team. Giving that sense of personality and the positive feedback from, you know, from clients who love you so much that in thanks they send you closing gifts. I love that. That's always a sign of a good realtor, is that when the realtor gets closing gifts. You know, information about your listings. I can see you work with City Blast, which is great. I've got absolutely no constructive criticism to provide for you here on your business page. It's perfect. Yeah, well done. Absolutely no criticism whatsoever. Erica has to leave, so that's great. That's fine. Anybody else want me to have a look? And if you'd rather me do it privately instead of everybody else that's left here in the chat, feel free to email me. I'm more than happy to set up a one-on-one with you to go through your stuff and make sure that it's good. But this is exactly what you want to strive for, is what Kate has done here with her team. The only other thing maybe, Kate, that I would suggest you do is because, again, on social media and in 2020 and 2021, people want that warm and fuzzy feeling, especially with COVID when everybody is so detached from everybody else. Like, we all miss hugs, right? So I think that if you were to use your business profile for a little bit more of an intimate look at yourself and the people on your team, that might be really helpful for people to be able to identify, Yeah, like I want to see your smile more than just a headshot. I want to know what you're doing when you're going into the office. I want to know what it's like when you're going for a pre-listing inspection. Like I want to know what you're doing behind the scenes as one of Oakville's highest producing realtors, most loved long-term realtors. People want to know what it's like to be behind those scenes. So anything that you feel comfortable sharing, again, it doesn't have to be with your family. I'm not saying post pictures of your kitchen or your living room or your dog or your grandchildren. It's not about that. It's about talking about your business. If you were to go over to an acquaintance's house for dinner, you're not going to be talking about how many houses you sold in the last month or what your open house this weekend is going to look like and inviting them into your open house. You're going to talk about, anecdotes and stories. And man, I still tell the story about when I went to go show a house in Georgetown and I walked into the teenage boys' room and there was a wall, floor to ceiling, wall to wall of these little aquariums, and each aquarium had a tarantula in it. And it was floor to ceiling, wall to wall. And I walked in and I was just faced with this wall of tarantulas. And I used to be so arachnophobic that like I screamed and then my client screamed and, it was all very funny. And I still tell people that story. And when I posted about it on social media, like it went viral. Everybody was like, what other kind of cool stuff do you see as a realtor? And that's what people want to talk about. You can do that without identifying the sellers or without identifying, any member of the public whatsoever, or ridiculing anybody. But that's definitely the stuff that people want to see on your social media, is the behind the scenes look at the life of you as a realtor. So keep that in mind as you're working on your social media profiles a little bit more for the rest of this year and into next year. Again, I'm really excited about doing a social media content course. Hopefully I'm still working on it. So hopefully within the next couple of months, we'll have that out. And I'll look forward to sharing some of the cool tips and tricks that I have for you guys about going viral on social media and how to make TikTok work for you if that's where you want to be. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so pending no other questions, I'm pleased to be able to close this meeting off within the hour. That's great. That's exactly where I wanted it to be. You guys are busy. You need to go back to work. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. I look forward to seeing you with your advertising, calling yourselves realtors and real estate agents instead of that boring old sales representative. Kate, you can change that. Get rid of that right there. Call yourself a real estate agent. Let's get it on. And again, everybody, thank you for joining me. Have a great week. We'll see you on the next session. If there's anything you want us to cover and you haven't seen that yet, that's my new job. I'm manager of professional development. So send it over to me and I'll make it happen. Thank you guys. Good luck. Have a wonderful rest of your week and we'll see you guys soon. Thank you guys.